In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to cut a notch in my bathroom tile for this floor drain. The floor drain will be sitting right here with a grout edges on the side, so it's going to go in like that, and it'll be flush with this piece of tile. And my toilet will be over here, so if there's any spillage or anything, it's going to all go into my floor drain. So in the prior videos I've been using a jigsaw to make most of my cuts, because what the demonstration here has been is to cut tile in the cheapest way possible. I decided against using a jigsaw to make these cuts because of the reason that I would have to make multiple serial cuts this way in order to just make this piece come off, because you can't really bend your jigsaw, and otherwise you have to make more and more cuts. So what I decided to do is use an angle grinder, and I've chosen this Craftsman CMCG400 angle grinder, which I picked up at Lowe's for $80, and I picked up this rigid 4.5 inch angle grinder, turbo mesh laced diamond coated tile blade that's made specifically for porcelain, granite, marble, and ceramic tile. They say that the blade, which is here, is made in a way that it dissipates heat and allows for smoother cuts. And you can see what it looks like. This also is similar to the P3 blade that's made by a different company, but this costs $30. So if you have a different type of angle grinder, you can use this ring that comes with it. Apparently this turbo mesh keeps the blade cool, and you don't need water. So this is a piece of tile that I cut just a few minutes ago, just to do some sample cuts, and that's the smoothness of it, of the cuts. Unfortunately, with an angle grinder, the very edges, the pieces actually break off or are rough. This is what the advantage of using a jigsaw is. You're going to get really smooth cuts with a jigsaw. It's just going to take a long time. You're not going to have this kind of stuff, but it'll take a little bit longer. You won't have any of this marks from the angle grinder blade. Okay, so in this video what we're going to do is we're going to cut this piece of tile, and what I've done is I've marked it on this side, and for these particular cuts I've marked it on the opposite side. So it's important to match exactly your markings on both sides. And what I noticed here is that I'm a little bit off on my markings. What I used was a template. I used this template to trace out my marks for where I'm going to cut. So apparently I was a little off. And so what I'm going to do is just make some new marks. For this part, there's already a piece that's straight that I'll just be cutting along. And what I'll do is try to cut to this closer edge as much as possible. And we're going to cut across this way horizontally. Okay, so the beauty of using an angle grinder is that we don't have to use water. It almost makes me feel like I need to be using water, because I've used the water with the jigsaw so much that I just feel something's not right without using water. It feels like the tile needs to be kept hydrated or something. So what I'm doing is I'm clamping the tile. With an angle grinder, you don't have to be so much concerned so much about making the tile that straight, because the cuts are super fast. I think because the cuts are super fast, you're much more likely to make a non-straight cut. So, but we're cutting tile on the floor, and we want to be as perfect as possible, but it's all based on skill, I guess. So we're going to go ahead and make that cut. Again, always wear a mask and eye protection. And also beware of kickback. You have kickback. Okay. What I'm going to do is arrange this thing a little bit better so I have space to work with, and you guys can see a little bit better. Maybe I can even focus in more. Okay. So again, I've never done this work before, and I'm not an expert. So here we go. So my biggest concern is that this piece is going to snap off. I do want to make sure I get this cut. So we're going to just start. So the thing about these angle grinders is they have a weight to them, and even just the lightest pressure is enough to cut the tile. This blade is incredibly sharp. It will go through. It's already gone through most of it. And you can see some of that kickback. These put out tremendous amounts of dust. The tile dust is likely carcinogenic, so please wear a mask. Definitely wear a mask. So here you'll be able to see the actual blade getting through this piece. What I'm really worried about is this thing going to be, this cutting, this breaking off. So what I'll do is I'll start somewhere over here. Just very lightly touching it. This blade cuts like butter. I decided to cut this a little bit, and I'm going to start over there so that I shift the tension and stress around instead of keeping it on one side and allowing the tile to break. So I've cut through and I've been able to maintain most of the tiles. I highly recommend this so far. This just cuts like better than butter. I swear, like a hot knife. Well, it is actually a hot knife. So the trick is the edges here. Making sure you don't cut all of the tile off, and you also snap that little piece. So what we'll do is we're going to go a little bit more into this little edge there, tiny edge, and over here as well. And that's my piece of tile that I've cut out, and we will flip it over and see what it looks like. Let's go ahead and flip it over. Okay, there's my piece of cutout. We were able to cut it kind of crooked. So that's one of the disadvantages of using an angle grinder, unless you're really skilled at it. But so that's going to go in there. Visually, you know, I think it'll be okay. It's not. It's just, it'll be okay. So I'll file that down, and maybe it's my markings that's crooked, but no, it's not. It's a little bit narrower here. But anyway, so there you have it. That is the effect of using an angle grinder for cutting tile, using that specific blade by Rigid. I'm going to highly recommend this. Initially, I was skeptical. Not skeptical. I was cost conscious, but I think for the this was a $110 cut for my purposes. $110 right here down the drain, but not necessarily down the drain. But I was able to cut it, so that's not too bad. And we'll just recap. What I have is a Craftsman So I have a Craftsman CMCG400 angle grinder with it comes with a 4.0 AH V20 battery. I don't really know what the amount of current is for this, but you can do the math and calculate it based on 20 volts. But so this goes about 9,000 RPMs. I don't know how much current it draws. And then what I used was the Rigid. And let's look at the blade. So pretty good, pretty undamaged looking blade. You can see there. So if you buy this for 30 bucks, you're going to get a lot of life out of it. I'm pretty much done. I mean, I just have the wall tiles to do. I'll probably cut all my wall tiles with this guy and return the wet saw, because that seems to be just not cost conscious.